Alright y'all, today we're going to create a gritty stamp texture. The final artwork's going to look like this. And this uses all effects native to Photoshop, so you're not going to need to buy anything. And then I do have a couple assets that we'll use at the end, but I will supply those to you for free. So this is our starting place right here, this tree stamp. And the way I created this is I just brought it in as like a crisp vector, as you can see here. I created a new layer, and then I zoomed in and grabbed my lasso tool. And then I just traced over this thing, and inevitably, because I'm using a mouse to trace over it, I'm going to be all wobbly and really just show my hand in this. And for this effect, I really like that look. So if I turn off the vector layer here, as you can see, it gives us that hand done look. So before we do anything else, let's go into our brushes and select a brush, and you'll see why in just a moment. If you don't have this palette open, you can go Window and Brushes. So here we are in the brushes, and this is just a pack that comes installed default with Photoshop, the dry media brushes. So toggle that down and go ahead and find Kyle's Ultimate Pastel Palooza and go ahead and select that. For this, I think I'm going to use a size of about 20 pixels, and this canvas is 2000 by 2000 pixels, so it'll vary depending on your canvas size. So just get that selected and you'll see why in a moment. Come down to your layers palette here and just go ahead and hover over the thumbnail for your layer, hold down Command on your keyboard and just click this. And what that's going to do, if I zoom out here, is just creates a selection of our artwork. So from there, make sure this layer is selected, that's very important, and then go over into your Paths panel. If you don't have your Paths panel, go to Window and Paths to open that up. So in your Paths panel, go down to the bottom here and just select this icon here. That's to make a new work path. So with the work path selected, come over to our little hamburger icon here, drop that down and do stroke path. And you can choose a tool. We're gonna choose brush because that's why we actually selected that specific brush that we did earlier. So from there, I'm going to hit OK. Basically what that has done is just applied that brush around the outside of our shape. Let's take this a step further. So add a mask to this layer and then hold down Command and select the thumbnail again. So it selects this. This time we're going to come up to Select up here, Modify, and we just want to contract our selection a little bit. About 4 pixels seems pretty reasonable. And there we go, we've got our selection contracted. And basically we're going to add texture to the inside of this. And I just don't want it to affect that outside edge because that's going to give us that really nice stampy look. So make sure you are in your mask. If I come down here, you see these 4 little crosshairs or whatever you call them. That lets you know that you're inside the mask. So let's go to our brushes palette. And this time we're going to choose the Kyle Bonus Chunky Charcoal. And you're going to want to make sure that you have black because we're going to draw it into our mask and eat away at it. And so having the black color selected here is what's going to do that. So basically now you're just going to start stamping this thing. And I like to just really take my time with it because if you click and drag, it just does way too much. So I like to just kind of click, click, click. So I'll speed this part up as I do that. Alright, so now I'm going to deselect this by hitting Command D, and then I do actually just want to eat into our outline a little bit in some places. So again, just have the mask selected, and go ahead and eat into this outline a little bit with your brush. I'll speed this part up. Alright, I think that looks great. Let me zoom out here, and then next we're just going to create a new layer and drag that below this layer. Because right here, I just want to create some like overshoots from the ink, like it's bleeding out. So I'm just basically going to stay mostly inside my shape, but just have a little bit of ink spilling over. So again, I will speed this part up. Alright, I'm going to zoom out so we can see it at 100%, and I think this looks super duper cool. We could stop here, but I think there's just a couple more things we could do to put the finishing touches on this. Alright, so here we have a paper texture and a grunge texture. As I said earlier, these are included for free in the description below. To be honest, this is not the greatest grunge texture. Basically what I did was I just created it by using the chunky charcoal brush that we used earlier. And then I just filled up the canvas, leaving these white spaces. From there, I just hit Command I to invert it. And that left me with this texture up here. So like I said, not the greatest, but for our purposes today, we'll be using it kind of subtly, so it should work. So go ahead and grab both of these textures and just drag them into our stamp file. Alright, let's start with the paper texture. I'm just going to go ahead and I think scale this down a little bit. I think that looks good. For our grunge texture, just go ahead and drag that up to the top of the layer stack. Obviously it goes over everything, but to fix that, just go to your blend mode and choose multiply. So again, I'm going to scale this way down. Something like that looks pretty good. And I think I want this to be quite subtle, so I'll just do 10% opacity. And there you have it. That is our final stamp effect. Happy texturing, friends. That's going to do it for today's video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow me over on Instagram, where I post short tips and tricks about design. I'll see you next time.